if you like seeing the trials and tribulations of an overconfident beginner crafter, then this video is for you. One thing about me is that I'm going to watch a costume drama and basically spent the whole time thinking, maybe I could make that. I learned how to knit and crochet as a teenager, but dropped it when I didn't really know what I could actually make with those skills. So when I was looking for my very first garment to start with, when I picked crocheting back up, I decided to take Outlander as my inspiration. This project has taken the best part of 2 years, but with many long breaks in between, because honestly, it probably could have been finished in under a month. And here's how I did it. Ahoy, my name is Sana. I have recently watched all 6 seasons of Outlander in the space of 1 month. It was a rewatch for me, maybe the 3rd, maybe the 4th. And after I finished watching it, it would not leave my brain. So I thought the only logical alternative to just starting another rewatch was perhaps reading the book for the first time. Finally. But besides reading, my recent obsession has been crocheting. I did a course where I learned how to make granny squares. Then I stumbled upon an image of the shawl that Claire wears in season 1 during the Rent episode. I think the shawl in the episode was made via knitting. I'm crocheting, so I thought as long as I can get something that has the feel of it, and I think getting the color and the material right is very important for this. Now, am I going in full improv, not knowing much? Yes, which makes this beginner friendly. I looked through a bunch of different tutorials, and the good news is that this is a pattern that repeats itself, so you only have to learn sort of the basic idea of it, and then you can just go and live your crocheting dreams. So let me show you what yarn I got. I've only ever crocheted with cotton, which is what I usually use for granny squares. I ended up with this ginormous ball of yarn. It's the Hayfield Bonus Aran with 20% wool. Because this is my first big project, I wanted to keep the budget quite low. I probably could have bought something like higher quality, but this was fine. It is 840 meters. I don't know if it will be enough. So I've ended up using a 5 hook for this. And for the other color, I've gone for Wendy with wool. It's 25% wool and the rest acrylic, and it should be about the same size. So the good news is that it's very doable. The bad news is I was going to start filming this video before I even started the shawl, and then I took the ball of yarn with me for Christmas and I just went wild. So what I have so far is this big. So the way that it works is that you start at the center that's going to be like closest to your neck, and then you start making like a small triangle, and it just gets bigger and bigger. So I'm crocheting like down here, like the outside bit, and then you go the other way around. Then you start a new row on this side and you go all the way down and back up to here. This is beautiful, mindless work. This pattern uses what in the UK you call a treble and in the US you call a double. And a lot of people that make these shawls online use that same pattern, but they use quite thick crochet needles and quite thick yarn, and it means you get big holes in it. And I wanted to make sure that it looked closer to knitting and a bit like tighter. I think these holes are not super noticeable, and especially if you wear it like on your body, you won't see them as much. And then what I really wanted from this yarn is for it to not be just one color, for it to feel like it's old, to not be shiny in any way. And this has just like a really nice brown kind of speckled quality to it, and so I thought sticking with a neutral would be good. And then the stripe that's in it I think is supposed to be a bit more black, but I feel like this will make for a nice combination. I'm going to keep going with this. I'll update you along the way, and I will start the book as well and update you on that too. This is my first big project. It's very exciting, and so far it is going well. So I want to place a bet on what I'll finish first. So I think it's gonna be the shawl.
Love it, love it.
You like it?
I love filming. It might not be any good, but you know.
Let me know if my posture is very bad. Shortly after starting this project, I went on a trip to National Trust property Stourhead, which is famous for being featured in the 2005 Pride and Prejudice, of course. I did a lot of outdoor sketching, but I also made so much progress on the shawl, and it was so exciting when it was finally big enough to wrap it around me and I could finally start on the second color. Okay, I figured it was time for a reading update before I finish this entire shawl. This is pretty much the only book I've been reading besides listening to Pride and Prejudice on audiobook. I'm about 100 pages in. I haven't got a Stourhead bookmark. I think I've gotten a really good idea of like the tone and the pace. It's really weird getting the main character Claire's inner dialogue, because obviously when you watch the show, and you've seen it as many times as I have, you get to know her character but you don't really get that insight. She's just gone through the stones from 1945 to the 1700s by accident, is trying to figure out what's going on. This book is not lasting very well. Like, it already looks like I've been carrying it around with me for years. Good morning. I am coming to you with two particular issues I'm having with the shawl. First one is how I initially started it in the tutorial. It's a little awkward, so it just has this singular string at the top. Now I think I can probably undo this and tighten it so it looks a bit more finished. That is a problem for me in the future. The other thing is that I think this shawl is gonna get too tall. So like this bit is gonna get too long in comparison to how long the arms will be. The issue is it's gonna go on my back, then it's gonna have to wrap around me and to the back again. And I know that I can just crochet like a little like string piece and tie it that way, but I'd like for the arms, I'm just calling this the arms for ease, like the body bits, to be a bit longer. And I did some research and read some forums and stuff. And I think that if instead of doing just 2 trebles in the last stitch, and I actually also put 2 trebles in a stitch next to it, I'm adding an extra treble to the row, and this should become more like pointy. I've only just started doing it, and I think if I do it on each end, it gets a little bit too much, because then basically it'll start, instead of being straight, it'll start kind of warping like this. So I think I'm only gonna do it when I start a new row. You can already see it's like tilting a little bit. So it means this won't be perfectly straight, but I think how Claire wears it is that she folds that edge over a bit anyway. So I'm not too bothered. Besides adding a few increases on the end, I also did a few rows where when I got towards the middle of the shawl, I would swap from treble to double crochet to make the rows tall on the side and shorter in the middle. Again, another method to try and make it not as long in the back, but still have it be wide. When I did this, I made sure to stagger the rows a bit, so make that change at different points. And honestly, I'm quite impressed with the improv, because I couldn't really find that much information about methods of making the shawl wider when I was looking for answers online. And I probably could have done a bit more of it if I'd started earlier in the shawl. I've made some little testers to show you what I'm talking about with the extensions. So this is the normal triangle as it would shape. Obviously this is a mini version, so everything is like a bit over the top. But here is what it looks like if you just do things normally, don't change anything at all. This is quite long. These are the arms basically that you wrap around you. And then this is what you get when you make the 2 changes. So turning from treble to double crochet as you go along, kind of staggering it. I mean, I only had a few rows to go with this, so it's like it looks quite extreme. When you have the full shawl, it doesn't look as extreme as this. It looks a lot neater. And also adding an extra increase every other side. So these are 5 rows each. So you can see it is way wider and shorter. You don't have to do both of them. You don't have to do any of them. But I thought it would be interesting to see side by side. So here you can see when I swapped from the treble to the double, and then I staggered it and staggered it. This is what the normal rows look like. And here you can see the compacted rows. I think that the extra increases here probably make more of a difference in the long run and do look a bit more natural, even though it does warp a little bit. But yeah, these are just some options that you can experiment with if you want to make the shawl a bit wider. Also, if anyone is watching this and knows more about the technicality of this, please leave a comment and I will highlight it. because as I said, this was just me trying things out, quite fresh into crocheting. I was trying to do an estimate of how many hours I've put into it so far, and I'm thinking max 5 hours. It goes surprisingly fast, and I'm not that fast. It's been probably about 2 months since I picked up the shawl. However, I have been reading Outlander, and the big update is that I got an e-reader. I think if I open it up, it'll flash the Outlander cover. There we go. That's what I'm reading at the moment. I'm halfway through. I've got 8 hours to go. I think Outlander is the perfect book for e-readers. They're big books, and the first book is not too expensive as an ebook either. Initially, I got it from the library. I've been renewing it a bunch of time, and in the end, I thought, you know, I'd spend the additional, I think it was £2 or £3 to buy it as an ebook. Thoughts on the book now that I'm halfway. I am so surprised at how closely it follows the show. I've seen season 1 about 4 times. I definitely feel like I'm missing out on the clothes and the landscape a bit. Obviously, I already have that in my mind because I've seen the show, but I really wonder what it would have been like just reading this without having any of that. Instead, you get descriptions of like Jamie catching a fish, or Jamie talking about all of his different swords and how he uses them in battle. I'm enjoying some of the additional details, like Claire talking about herbs and things like that. It adds to the historical context, obviously, but sometimes it kind of takes you out of the story. And weirdly, I feel like that's kind of all I have to say about the book, because it is very much going as expected since I already know the story. I think she also feels a little bit younger maybe than Claire in the TV show, and maybe like slightly less sort of like dignified and sophisticated, a little bit more like rough around the edges. It's been very enjoyable, and I think at this point, if I had to judge, I think I would continue the book series. That was the book update. Onto the shawl update. So the reason that I stopped working on it is I think that while I was at Stourhead, I finished this dark border, and then I knew I had to make a decision about the final outside border, and I just kept not being happy with the different yarns I found. So I have gone to different locations, done some online shopping. That didn't work out because I wanted to see it in person, and I've gone literally all over to try and find the right yarn to finish this. So I'm gonna try and make a decision right now. And I went back to the actual show to watch the episode and get a better idea of the color. Obviously, I've already diverted with my main color because I went for more of a brown rather than a more, I guess, like greeny brown. So I need to make sure it fits with my shawl as well. I also think this color that I went with in person is a little bit more like dark gray rather than maybe the more black that it is in the show. I'm happy with these colors. Here are my 3 options. The reference image, which I will put up here, definitely shows it as a bit more like a tealy green, like a bluey green perhaps. Now, option 1 that I have is that I think I have enough of the original brown left that I could just keep all in that same style, have it be the same color. In a lot of images, it looks like a very similar color as the main shawl. That's option 1. I'm gonna go in the order that I bought them. Option 2 is this beautiful, luscious, like forest green. I picked it because it has a mix of a lighter and a darker green, similar to like all the other stuff I've used. It's like not just one specific color. For all of these, if I don't use them in the shawl, I will use them for something else because they are gorgeous. So on its own, this is my favorite. But I think with the shawl, it steals the show too much. Like it's just a little too bright and like gorgeous. Then I thought maybe I could find something that's closer to the actual color that's used in the show. So I got this from John Lewis, Rowan Felted Tweed Aran. It is wool, alpaca, and viscose. Again, it has like lovely little flecks. I think this is the right color if I had gone with the original setup of the color. So I think this is maybe the best show match, even though it is a little on the bright side again. I just don't think it goes. I think it's again too colorful. So then I went all the way to the Netherlands. I mean, I was already going to the Netherlands, but there was a beautiful yarn shop in Amsterdam. I bought this Léttlopi Versatile Light and Warm, which is 100% wool as well. It's all going to show up quite dark from a distance, but I will show you the close-ups. It has the right like roughness, and I think it is muted enough that it'll be the right match. But what I've decided I'm gonna do is I'm basically going to take all 3 of them, start at different parts, and just start crocheting and see how it goes. I feel like I've genuinely almost forgotten how to do this because it's been such a long time, but I'm sure I can pick it up hopefully easily enough. And then I can finish this darn thing. That's the next step. That's why I've been stalling, because of just the difficulties of buying yarn and making decisions about colors. Great thing about crochet is that it's really easy to take out. So if I do decide I don't like it, I can take it out. It's not a big deal. Let's do it. I crocheted a bit of each color to do a proper comparison, and even though the dark green was stunning, the brownish green was the best blend in the end, so I went with that one. So we're making a big time jump to 2025 here. The Blood of My Blood Outlander prequel about Jamie and Claire's parents came out, and I felt inspired to finish the last of the Outlander book on a trip to Brighton. And since 2 years have passed since the beginning of this video, I actually have also picked up knitting again. More about that in the future. Also, here's me showing off my newly decorated Kobo case. Yeah, so I have accidentally started rewatching all of Outlander. I'm 2 seasons deep already because I'm currently sewing my dress for the Jane Austen Festival, so it's a lot of hours where I get to either like listen to an audiobook or watch something. I have half an hour left in the ebook. I forgot that I was at the bit after the horrendous scenes in the jail where they've gone to the monastery, and I was like, oh, what a place to pick up the book. Not very pleasant, but I'm excited to see how this rounds off and then goes into the next book. Especially when rewatching the show, there's so much violence, there's so many bits that you want to skip. I think it's worth it overall, but it feels like there's so few episodes that they're actually happy. There's a lot of violence. That is just the nature of the show, and I'm guessing of the book. I am enjoying Blood of My Blood quite a lot because you're sort of taken back to those first few episodes of original Outlander. I'll do my final update once I finish the book. And here is the final shawl. Just kidding, actually. When I took this shawl out from under the bed to film some final clips for this video, I made a very interesting discovery. So we've had what I can only describe as a major incident. Finished the shawl like a year ago, was going to maybe make a little outfit, film some extra clips. And because unfortunately we have carpet moths, I thought I'd put it in a Ziploc bag. It will be safe. I think maybe there were already moths in the shawl, because when I got it out from under the bed and opened it up, there were holes in the Ziploc bag, and I think they ate their way out. This has now been washed, sprayed, and treated. But unfortunately, some damage has been done in a bunch of different places as well. And it's so funny because this is the only bit that's actual wool. Everything else is mostly polyester. And they didn't, thank God, they didn't touch most of the rest of the shawl. And now that I've had some time to think about it and let it sit, I think what I want to do, after all this chat about which colors to use, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna undo the green and rip it back quite a few rows and actually turn it into the other wrap shawl that Claire has, which is mostly brown and has a few like black / dark gray stripes running through it. I think in the end it'll be more screen accurate. I've since then also purchased a full Outlander costume sewing pattern, so I am more likely to actually wear it as part of a full costume, so I would like it to be as screen accurate as possible. Let's see if I remember how to do this. I have some brown left, but not that much, so maybe I even have to undo a little bit of the brown to get a bit further up with the stripes. That is the hilariously unhinged update that I have for you. The book is finished, but the shawl continues. We thought the shawl was gonna win, but it's not. All right, let's do it. Cue dramatic montage of me frogging the beautiful moth-devoured wool, but with the excitement of the last season of Outlander around the corner, I actually managed to finish the new edition of the shawl in under a week. And here is the final result. We did it. Technically I did it, but you came along on the journey, which was very much appreciated. We have a finished shawl and there's not a single moth in sight, thank God. Okay, let's quickly recap my final thoughts in case you're also a beginner crocheter and want to take this project on. If you are a beginner, I would say it is totally up to you whether you want to make some of the adjustments that I made to make it a little bit wider. I think you can totally make the basic shawl, don't make any changes, and be really happy with it, especially if you're going to tie it with a belt. I don't know why I didn't think about just tucking it into a belt instead of trying to connect it in the back and have enough to like make a proper knot or anything. You can make some slight adjustments if you want to, but it's absolutely not mandatory, so don't be scared off by that. My main note to myself is that I shouldn't really have gone off a single photo. I should have gone to the appropriate episodes in the show and really looked at the colors properly, but I think I was so enthusiastic to get started that I went to my local yarn store, just saw what they had that was cheap and got started. And I think that's how a lot of people will get started. Now, 3 years on, I would probably treat it a bit differently, but I am super happy with the results, and I do think that what I bought was fit for purpose. Maybe not 100% for the initial shawl that I had in mind, but for the final shawl that I've ended up with, I think it looks really good and I'm really happy. A question that I guess some of you might have is that now I know how to knit, would I choose to knit this instead of crochet it? I think the effect of the tighter crochet looks a little bit closer to knitting, and I think is again fit for purpose. I haven't knit a shawl like that, so I actually don't know what the construction of it would look like, and I think this is quite simple to start with. So I think crocheting it was alright in the end. I've literally learned like 10 new crafts since picking up crocheting again, but this was such a nice way to start, and I think I will genuinely wear this. It does feel more like a costume piece. I could wear it at home, but I think it's going to serve its purpose very well when I make my Outlander costume. I've bought this pattern, Simplicity 8161. It doesn't look very promising in these photos. I would be making a bodice and skirt, and I can show you the fabric. I went to Merchant and Mills in Rye, which is a gorgeous fabric company. I got to go for my birthday and as a present pick out some fabric, which is very exciting. So here is my inspo pick once again, and I bought this gorgeous blue linen, such a nice deep color, and then also this wool, which is humongous, and it will be the skirt, obviously. Since starting this project, I have actually made 2 full dresses for the Jane Austen Festival, so I have some of the skills, but I've never worked with wool before. I haven't worked with linen, so we'll see how it goes. And then of course the final verdict of the book. It was really fun. It's great to read on an e-reader. It feels like that's more what it's made for. I wish I'd gotten a little bit more out of it. Like when you watch it next to the show, it feels very similar. But I'm sure I will get more out of it as I continue to read the series, and I think I'll probably pick that up after the last season of Outlander is done, because if there's no more new Outlander, I'm going to be looking for it in the books. I was going to say, like, would you enjoy this book if you haven't seen the show? If you haven't seen the show, you probably are not watching this video, I'm guessing. Thanks for coming with me on this historical costuming, picking up crochet again journey. There will be more, especially historically themed craft videos coming your way soon, and of course the usual book and literary travel videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Doei!